making that noise? I'm like, what the hell is that?
I don't know. One of us did it in one of the past episodes, and I was listening to. It's an episode we haven't published yet, and I was listening to it, and I'm like, oh, that was cool. Who did that? And
what was it? Just a nice.
Stupidest things, man. All right, you got a dad joke, I heard.
I do. Yeah, my wife and I were coming back from this weekend, and she had a great one, and I'm like, I got to write that down.
Yeah?
So.
Oh, you're setting it up now. You're setting it up maybe too strong.
No, it's not that great.
It's good.
But compared to like last week's
was horrible.
Was pretty bad.
You had to see these nuts?
Yeah.
That was not a good.
Yeah, that was a bad joke.
Failed.
This is a stellar joke.
Okay.
Comparatively.
Comparatively.
So, yeah. So, what are a kidnapper's favorite shoes?
What are a kidnapper's favorite shoes?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. What are a kidnapper's favorite shoes?
White Vans.
Jesus.
With no windows.
With no windows? Since we both drive vans now. That's pretty funny.
I know.
Well, you know that I work remotely, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And I do a lot of my work over Zoom.
Yep.
So this week I told a joke in one of my Zoom meetings, and it was a funny joke, but like nobody laughed.
Oh, why?
Well, my hypothesis is because I'm not remotely funny.
That's a decent joke.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's better than the last one.
You redeemed yourself for sure. So that is a doable joke.
All right. So Wednesday night here on the MCP, we're sitting in Guru Bikes. It's hot, summertime.
It's nice in here.
But it's hot out. Yeah, it's real nice in here. But it's hot outside.
106.
It's crazy.
Like it's crazy.
But we still out riding. We get up early. Actually, I've been doing more night rides than early rides. Yeah. I bet you got a lot of great deals going on in this shop at the moment.
Summertime in the desert.
Yeah.
Not the most busy time.
Not the busy time for bike shops. So good opportunity for folks to buy bikes.
Two things that happen in our shop that's fun is, one, we do mark down some bikes that have been here too long if they're too dusty. And we got some really good deals. Not that I'm trying to pump that, but the other thing that happens is we get to kind of pick up the pieces of what is lying around and make cool stuff. So we have a bunch of project builds that are, maybe we sold a frame and parted a bike out. Yeah. And then we bought some closeout frames, and we start kind of
piecing stuff together.
Frankensteining bikes together and making like killer deals. We got some downhill bikes we're building that are a killer deal. One guy already got to take advantage of, one of our riders that listens.
I know that Frito Pendito is gonna get one of those.
He's getting a sweet rig.
Yeah, it's like he's getting like the Trek
Session.
Yeah.
Carbon.
Oh,
and
sick.
Yeah, it's pretty insane deal. And then we've got some pivots. I did a video for our Facebook or Instagram showing of some of the how could you afford a pivot? Because a lot of times pivots are, Yeti is always called the dentist bike. I don't know what you call a pivot, but they're high-end bikes. They're nice high-end bikes. The one thing that I like telling customers about pivot is there's no cheap frame. So when you buy a Trek or a Specialized or a Santa Cruz or a lot of brands, they'll have different frames at different price points. And with pivot, you get the cheapest pivot, you're getting the best frame, the top of the line frame. If they've got a $12,000 pivot and you get a $5,000 pivot, you're getting the same frame.
Same frame.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to talk about that special thing over there yet.
No,
right?
we're going to do an episode on that.
Okay.
But people keep taking pictures of it, which is my fault because it's right out in front of everybody. And I got to.
So if you want to see something, if you're in Tucson, you want to see something secret that is like one of the fucking sickest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Come into Guru Bikes before Dane puts this thing back and hides it.
Well, I got some news today that it may. That may be really exciting for So
let's not say too much.
Yeah. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's really exciting news. So I'll definitely want to tell people about it
when we can.
So
when we can. But
let's just say it's
currently on display, and if you walk into Guru Bikes, you cannot miss it.
Yeah, no, it is one of a kind for sure.
That's a sweet thing.
Yeah.
All right, so Bike Shop Secret episode today.
Yeah,
it's been a minute since we recorded one, and I have been collecting over the last, month or so, different things as I run into topics that I want to talk to you about, or if I am struggling with something on my bike or I just write it down. Like we should talk about this on the podcast, because if I'm struggling, there's probably other people as well.
Yeah.
And I sent Dane the list, and he's like, damn, this is an eclectic list, bro.
It's like scattered all over the place.
So don't expect there to be some major theme.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so the first topic here was, and I cannot remember, it was on another podcast that I was listening to. And I for the life of me cannot remember what the podcast was, so I apologize to the person or the podcast that I was listening to, and I forgot. But the guy I was listening to had this hypothesis that no two forks are the same.
Okay.
And so what he was basically saying, or what he experienced, I guess is the better way to say it, was that he dialed in a fork, ended up getting it perfect. Mm-hmm. It's got all of his sag, his pressures, his volume spacers, his rebound, low speed, high speed compression, everything just dialed perfect. Got the same fork on a different bike, but the same frame.
Yeah.
Put all those settings in, and it didn't feel good. And so he started thinking about it, and his hypothesis here is that, like, no two forks are the same. And some of the reasons why I was just trying to think, like, why would that be? Why would, like, two Fox 36s from the same year, same batch, same everything be different? And I started thinking about it, and I thought, okay, well, there could have been, like, slight deviations in the manufacturing tolerances. Like, oftentimes so I work for an engineering company and a production company, and oftentimes when you build something, there's like an acceptable range.
Yeah, a tolerance. Plus or minus.
Yeah, plus or minus. And so maybe one of the forks was on the bottom of that acceptable range, one of the forks was on the top of that acceptable range. So manufacturing differences was one of the things I thought. Another thing I thought was, like, maybe there were differences in the oil, like the weight, the brand, maybe even like how old the oil was, because I think oil over time changes its viscosity.
Yeah.
Then I thought, there's bushings. And so maybe there were some differences in the bushings and the way the bushings were behaving. And then maybe the forks were, like, maintained differently. Like, one was, like, well maintained, one was bad maintained, or maintained by different people who do different things. So anyways, so my question is, like, do you think it's possible, or is it a fact that, like, no two forks are the same, and you really are going to have to put the time into setting up every single fork, even if you buy the exact same fork for another bike or as a replacement?
Yeah, I think it would be pretty impossible for them to be identical, to the level that it seems like he's maybe thinking about it, or you're thinking about it. Because you're right, like, when the shim stack is put together, the threads could be slightly like 180 degrees of the other one. So the shim stack goes on a little farther.
Half a turn.
Yeah, or something like that. Or the ports could be slightly, bigger. Like you said, the oil. One thing that's really common on a lot of forks, and people on the internet will talk about, is they'll get shipped with either too low a oil or too much oil or too much grease in the air chamber that will affect it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because if there's more grease, then that takes up air volume. So it's almost like having a spacer in there. If there's a lot of like residual grease in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if there's too little bath oil, your bushings may be getting starved. You can definitely have bushing tolerance. I would say that would be, to me, that would be probably the biggest one, because I see pretty big swings, and
in the tolerances of different bushings on the same fork.
Yeah, there's those popular videos online where people are watching the upper tube slide into the lowers, and the first thing they show is, like, it doesn't slide, and then they work on it and make it magically slide right in there. I mean, you can resize those bushings to change those things.
Right.
So
right. And you do a little bit of that.
Yeah. I do it when it matters, but how sensitive the rider is to those changes
makes a big difference.
Yeah. I just had a fork in recently. Oh, well, one of our employees had a fork, a Fox 36. It was brand new, and he could not get it dialed in. It was brand new, came on his bike, and ultimately it had a bad negative O-ring. And so the negative chamber was dumping into the lowers. So he just could not get it dialed in. It would feel good on the test ride, and then as soon as he went and rode it, it would feel like garbage.
Once that oil got moving, it would start dumping in.
The fork has 2 air chambers, a positive and a negative.
Mm-hmm.
So he's charging it, in the shop, pushing it up and down, setting sag, goes out and rides it. It hasn't leaked out, so it feels fine.
Yeah.
Then while it sits on his car to go to the trail, that air has leaked out of the negative chamber. So now the fork feels really rigid. And so then it has to reset again, and then it can keep changing. So, and ultimately I just rebuilt the air system, and he's like, it was night and day. So, and that was on a new fork that came on a bike. So, so you can definitely have 2 forks that have different things going on. For the most part, these forks are pretty much the same inside. There's not a huge change, but you had brought up, well, one was maintained versus the other.
Yeah.
You can have a huge swing in performance over time, so like if you bought a new fork and are riding it and has a feel, and then you get an old fork that needs service, they would definitely feel different.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So I guess the takeaway is, well, first and foremost, like make sure that you're maintaining your suspension products.
Yeah.
but don't expect to be able to just plug your PSI and your settings in.
Yeah.
It may not feel the same.
Yeah, and as long as I've been doing suspension, I don't ever count on the amount of clicks on these adjusters being the same at every fork. And I've had people say, oh, the manual said I should have 15 clicks and I'm only counting 14. And I'm like, again, the thread pitch of where that knob is turning could be that you're just not getting that last click. And sometimes they'll change them. So like one series will have 14 and another one will have 7. And
that's a big difference.
You'll be reading the owner's manual for the wrong one.
Yeah.
Or you're
getting to 7 and you're like, I got 8 more. What the heck?
Yeah.
Right.
Or what's really common is you Google it and AI tells you there should be 14, thinking that you've got the 2027 and you've got a 2023,
whatever.
And they're different,
Yeah.
And it doesn't know, even when you put in the date, it may not know. So,
okay. So I'm going to pull an audible on you, something that's not on the list because you just
okay.
Put something in my head.
Jogged my memory. So, over the last month and a half, 2 months, we've been spending a lot of time at higher altitudes on the bikes. I think largely because we got the van and we're trying to get up out of the heat. Yeah.
So we're riding, up top on mountains, we're riding bike parks, whatever. One of the things, and we've talked about this on the podcast previously, is that when you go up in altitude, like if you're driving at a lower altitude and then you climb significantly, there's actually like a reset on the back of some of the Foxes anyways, buttons that you can push.
Yeah.
That will like let some of the air out to, I guess, equalize and account for that change in air density that was caused by the altitude change.
Yep. Yeah.
I noticed on my Zeb that I don't have buttons, but there are 2 little knobs there, but they don't do anything.
You have to loosen them and then you unwind them a little bit. So there should be an Allen wrench and then they're knurled. Yep. And you put the Allen wrench and you crack them a little bit, and then you can use your finger to just kind of back them out a little bit, and then they'll bleed a little air. If there's no pressure differentiation, there won't be any air bleed. Like you won't hear it.
Okay, so basically, instead of having a button like on the Fox ones, on my Zeb, I need to use an Allen wrench.
Yeah.
Just break that seal a little bit, and then I can loosen them, and I should hear a little air come out. Tighten them back up, finger tight or whatever, or slightly with the Allen wrench, and I'm done.
Yep. Yeah. Interesting thing. The Fox and RockShox, I believe, had the lawsuit against each other. And I think Fox won. I think that's correct. Because your Zeb has the newer air valves, which don't have buttons because they lost the lawsuit.
So the buttons were around a lawsuit.
Yeah. And so I have my Zeb has the buttons on it. Because it's just a little bit older. It's the same casting, but they don't offer those buttons anymore. If you get new air bleeders, they'll come like yours.
Could you install the buttons on mine?
Yeah, but you can't get them because they're not allowed to sell them. So they don't have them. Another interesting thing is DVO has had those bleeder buttons longer than both of them, and so I don't know how that works.
Yeah, how did they not?
I don't know.
Okay. Let's not start an IP battle, right? Maybe we shouldn't be talking about this.
There's something in the patent that's not an issue, but I think the new DVOs maybe don't have the buttons anymore. So
maybe they're wrapped up in it too.
Yeah, could be.
We're totally speculating.
I have no idea, but yeah, there was a fight over that, like just over who gets a button,
fork bleeding button.
Now the new Zeb has buttons.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Yeah. So what they did was on the brand new 27s, they moved the buttons up to the crown, and so I think
if it's on the crown, it's okay.
Yeah, I think on the crown it just gets rid of that problem.
Yeah.
But how crazy is that if that's how they got away with it? I doubt that they put them up there because of, the lawsuit.
Yeah.
That they wanted buttons, or something. But what if they did? Who knows? They're like, oh, you won't let us have them here. We'll just move them and we'll
show
have them.
you.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So.
Oh, man. The lawyers. That's interesting.
You're right.
Okay, thank you. Well, so that's good for our listeners to know. And just as a reminder, we've talked about that on the podcast before, but if you go up in elevation, and your fork's feeling
usually stiffer,
you can check those little bleed ports. And just if you have the buttons, I'll just warn you, you have to kind of press really hard.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to rock them back and forth.
Okay,
so
to get the air out.
And you may get a little oil. So on the non-drive side over the disc,
be careful.
Yeah, maybe do it with a rag or something, because there's a channel, depending on the generation of fork, there's usually a channel that takes the oil up to the bushings and it runs right over those. And so oil can sometimes sit in them. Another interesting thing, because we do a lot of suspension here, and we pull the forks off to do the suspension. If you set one of those forks on the table, with the buttons down, they can leak all that oil out.
That happened in my truck. Remember that?
Yeah,
I was traveling with one and I pulled it out. I'm like, there's fucking Dane, you're dead. You thought you worked on this. It's like leaking all over my truck. And you're like, dumbass.
Yeah.
You sent it.
I've set them down like that before and come back and seen a puddle. And I'm like, damn it. Cause then I got to go measure the oil and
you got to take all the oil out.
Yeah.
Make sure you have to write them on in there.
If it's a little bit, don't worry about it. But if you let it sit there and it has a big pool, you want to replenish that.
Well, if you ever sit in the back of my truck and you see the big stain on the seat, that's what it is.
They ship with little rubber bumpers on a lot of them. So like the Fox in particular, they're red bumpers, and we often see those still on them when people are riding them.
Yeah.
Because they don't know, they're not really designed to stay on there. They don't have a good enough friction, so they're going to fall off. But the amount of people that I see at bike parks and stuff with those little red things still on, it kind of cracks me up. So, and I would leave them on just to see how long they'll last. It's like putting reflectors on to see how long they'll stay on your bike. So.
Wait, so you're not supposed to keep those red things on?
No. Yeah. Now I have on my little on the RockShox ones, they're black, and if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, they have a little indent and they can stay there.
Okay.
And they won't fall off. But the red Fox ones don't have enough friction to last. So.
Okay. Well, hey, there you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
All right. Next topic. And you'll remember this. So I've been taking the front wheels of my bikes off much more frequently because the way that we store them in the van under the bed is with the front wheel off and then the fork mounted into some fork mounts, which is mounted to a piece of wood. That's how we mount them and carry it in the van. And so, previously I never pulled the front wheel off unless I was doing maintenance.
Yeah.
But one of the things that started happening, or actually happened right away, was one of the caps on the hub just was like falling out. Mm-hmm. Right. And it actually became kind of a pain in the ass because I'm trying to like take the wheel out, I'm trying to hold the bike up and lift it. And then the hubcap falls down and it's got oil and grease. And so it falls in the dirt. And then I got the hubcaps, got all this oil and grease, and I got to stop and like put everything down and like clean that hubcap off and then put it back in. And then I came in and then you did a fix that is fix that. So maybe like, does that happen a lot? Why does that happen? And what did you do to fix it so our folks know if they deal with this? And then does it matter?
Yeah. So the hubcaps are kind of cool on hubs because a lot of hubs over the years you can convert. So the manufacturers kind of build them a certain way, but they, in the back of their heads, I think they're always keeping in mind that a new standard may pop up. And so they try and engineer in a little bit of flexibility. And so, so one of the things that happened way back in the day is there used to be quick releases on mountain bikes where you would have like the end caps would have these little nubs that sat into an open frame, and then you'd have a quick release that went through and tightened your wheel on, and it wasn't what we call now a through axle. And so when they switched to through axle, a lot of the manufacturers had designed their hubs to be adaptable, and they could just switch the hubcaps. So that's one reason that hubcaps are in a lot of cases built to where they friction fit on and off. Sometimes they use an O-ring to hold them on. And in the desert, we have to deal with O-rings drying out and falling off, which definitely happens, or shrinking. Just overall,
so that's what could have happened to mine was that the O-ring dried out, shrunk a little bit, and then it no longer had enough positive friction to hold it in place.
Yeah. And then also that hub may have been designed to have multiple caps. So your caps may have been on the one end where they were just...
Back to the tolerance thing again.
Yeah, just barely fitting. Whereas if you were running a quick release setup, they may have had something that plugged in there and really was solid. And so you may have been at the openest end because you have 15 mil through axle.
Yep.
So, and then the hub shell itself has to have a bearing in it. And so they're just trying to deal with all those different tolerances and not have these gigantic hubs. So
okay.
So hubcaps sometimes can plug in. Sometimes they just have an O-ring holding them. Sometimes they screw on.
If it's loose, does it matter?
No. So when it's actually on the bike
and tightened down,
your axle is going to preload those caps onto the bearings properly, and everything will be good and solid. Right. The problem is when you pull the through axle out, if that O-ring has rotted and gone away, your end cap can fall off, and it's just when you're taking it apart. And we've even seen on some hubs where like your cassette on the rear will just fall off, and the customer's like, I just took my wheel out to change my flat, and my cassette just fell out.
And then it fell into like 47 pieces.
Which sucks.
And I don't know where the little spacers go.
Or it got a bunch of dirt in it or what have you. And that's usually a result of those O-rings in there rotting away over time or just going away. So, and sometimes you can get the O-rings, sometimes you can't. You have to buy new caps. It kind of sucks.
Oh, Jesus.
So, in your case, I went in and found just a slightly bigger O-ring than you had because your O-ring didn't go anywhere. It just was too small, and the cap just had barely enough to come out, especially because if you pull your wheel off at any kind of angle, it'll kind of pry it out. Which
is what I'm doing, right? Because I'm trying to, it's an e-bike.
Yeah.
This is Maddie's
heavy.
e-bike. It's heavy. I'm trying to hold it and all doing it all my lonesome. So
Yeah. And so I just put a little tiny bit bigger O-ring to hold it. So, and then it'll have, if it touches, the O-ring touches, you may have a little friction, which we found on yours. It did just a little bit. A little bit of oil or grease will get rid of that. And once it gets preloaded and ridden, you won't notice it.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
That spurred two more
Okay.
drop-ins.
All right.
So this is fantastic because I'm adding to our list, which means we'll never get to the end of
this.
All right. So the first one is on one of the bikes that I've been loading a lot, I actually have a quick release through axle.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is sweet.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to go get a tool and it's a lot easier to like manage.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, shit, man, maybe I should replace all of these axles with through axles.
Yeah.
With quick release through axles. Is there any reason why I shouldn't do that?
No, you got to make sure you get the right hardware. Sometimes you have to change other parts other than just the axle. So like on a Fox, there's a different hardware at the other end, that you use. Because quick releases, if you want to clock them. So once you get everything tight, if the handle is sticking straight down or straight forward, it's kind of goofy. And so sometimes they'll have a clocking device on the other side that you can turn.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And so on RockShox, their quick releases usually are clocked on the through axle itself. So you don't need any special parts, which is nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so it just depends on the brand. But in most cases, a lot of companies will make both.
Right.
In some cases, they won't. So like on some of the downhill forks and
can't do it.
Some forks in general, they just don't make one.
So no reason why I shouldn't get one other than make sure the clocking mechanism is good.
Yeah. You just want to make sure that it's going to tighten,
Yeah.
For instance, on Fox 36, most of the modern ones, they have a pinch bolt. which a lot of people forget to tighten.
Which I forgot to loosen.
Yeah,
and it stripped out the inside of my.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because on DVO, that pinch bolt is facing up. So when you look,
you can
down,
see it. It's obvious.
It's there. On the Fox, it's
hidden. Like hidden underneath.
Yeah. It's kind of tucked. So it looks cool, but you forget it's there.
Yeah.
And then what happens most often is people forget to tighten it, and then it rattles apart and you lose the hardware. And, realistically, unless you just really get super sloppy and ride a long, long time without ever checking it, no, you need it because the flex in the fork,
Gotcha.
that has an opening now.
That's bad.
And if you flex that fork hard enough, you could possibly break that tab open.
Yep.
So you definitely want the hardware, but it's not super catastrophic. We had some Marzocchis back in the day that had quick releases down there. And when they fell open, the bottom would drop.
Oh, no.
And your whole axle could drop right out of the fork. And
so you go to do a jump and then your front wheel falls off.
Yeah. I mean, again, you have to be sloppy and not paying attention to, or really just be ignoring things to have that happen. But man, it was a little freaky to kind of have to flap your axle in,
while you're riding.
Yeah. And so it was kind of like a double quick release so that you could pull your wheel out.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. I do remember that. It was kind of crazy, but the wheel would drop straight out the bottom. So.
Okay. So easy for maintenance, but a little sketchy if you don't have it.
Not a great design for what do you want to call it? Idiot proof. It's not idiot proof.
Yeah. Idiocracy. I got to watch that movie again.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So final question on hubs. We have talked about this in the past. And so apologies if everyone's heard this, but I can't really remember. I know that RockShox's done something with their torque caps.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't have those.
No.
And I'm running like all RockShox forks now.
Yeah.
So should I consider them?
So ideally what they do is create more surface area and a possible stiffer front end.
Right.
And so if you wanted a little degree of stiffness, you just have to make sure your hub has that as an option.
Yeah, that you can actually buy torque caps for it. And I think most of the major ones you can.
I don't know if that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the tricky part because if the torque cap is actually made for your hub or not. And that's really the key. And so the amount that it makes a difference, especially on the more modern forks, which have really gotten super stiff chassis, I don't think is as critical as it used to be.
So, but I'm liking how they feel now. So
yeah, but they're compatible. The big thing that happens here, and we've talked about this, is we sell a Fox fork replacing a RockShox, and the torque caps are on there, and that wheel won't fit into a Fox.
So then you have to change the hubcaps.
Yep, exactly. And that causes one more level of complication or cost or delay or what have you. And so, having your wheels with torque caps has drawbacks. So it has an advantage, but it has drawbacks.
All right, next topic. Most of this, because this is my life right now, is coming from experiences with the van. Yeah. And I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what my bike tool kit needs to be for the van. Yeah. I ended up buying a professional tool roll from Pedro's for $700. It was the least expensive option that I could find. Yeah. It had everything. Yeah. Like pretty much everything in my shop.
And you weren't robbing your shop. Every weekend.
I don't want to rob my shop. Yeah. I want it just to be in there so I can go and it's in the van and goes up there. Yeah. So it got me thinking about, I've been messing around with a bunch of different pumps. Mm-hmm. I ended up buying a foot pump from Amazon for $15, which was amazing. It was super small. It worked great, but the gauge didn't work for the shit. So I couldn't tell what I was, what PSI I was putting in the tires, and we're pretty specific about that. So I was like, oh shit. So we sent that back. The pump I ended up getting was the Park Tool, just home mechanic pump. Yeah. It's kind of slim and the gauge works great. It's big enough. My wife's going blind. She can't see anything. So she needs a big gauge so she can read it. But it got me thinking about what if I got a set the bead on a tubeless tire while I'm in the field. And I think in the past I would just use a CO2 cartridge, but that's that's a one and done. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's disposable.
So what I ended up buying was this tool called an air shot, which is it looks like a giant CO2 container. Yeah. That you just pump up with your pump.
Yeah, and you pressurize the tank.
You pressurize the tank, and then you hook that to the tire.
And it acts like a
giant CO2, right?
Yep, yeah.
And it was super. It was relatively inexpensive, pretty small. Also in the van, like everything's about footprint. Like you know, everything's got to fit. So small stuff. So I bought that, but it got me thinking. Like, just in general, I don't think we've talked about or much talked about on this podcast, like seating beadless or tubeless tires, seating the bead for tubeless tires. So like, what are the different methods that you use? What do you guys use in the shop? What do you use at home? What do you use in the field?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. So most modern tubeless systems fit tighter. And also when I tape a rim, I'm aware of how tight the tire is fitting. If it's super loose, I'll double up the tape. And I think we've talked before, if it's a really old rim that doesn't have good tolerance, I'll sometimes switch to a Gorilla tape, just because it takes up room and it closes up that tolerance so that the tire
between the rim and the tire itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so the smaller the gap you have, the more likely that the air that you put in will push it to the outside.
Versus just escape underneath that hole.
Yeah. And so sometimes if you got a really sloppy setup, you're going to just struggle and you just need a lot of air compressor. Even here when we're doing them at the shop with an air compressor, we run into some that just are really a pain. Sometimes soaping them helps that. Sometimes you got 3 guys, around a trash can trying to get it to work. And ultimately, sometimes we can. Sometimes you can get some weird tires when they're folded up. They create seams or bends in the beads. And so sometimes a trick is to put a tube in it and let it sit.
To help work that out over time.
It can also sometimes pop the beads into place. And then if you only take one side off to take the tube out,
then you've got one side still in place.
So there's little tricks, all kinds of different tricks. One of the things I think that works the best is the blaster pumps, where they have an extra can that you can charge from the pump.
Right.
And that has a lever
that air shot thing I got is I just bought it, but it's not connected to my pump.
Yeah. And that's good too. The other thing for like an RV or something is sometimes you can get a high output, air compressor that's can go under in your frame underneath the car, and you run a hose out and have it click in super pro. I'm sure it's not cheap, but that's kind of cool. A buddy of mine had one because he had airbags on his truck. And so he had an air output where he could hook up an air hose for when he was riding and he could fill up his tires. So for 4-wheeling, he could do it. But also he could put little things on it to work. And
I looked at Viair makes some, and there's a bunch of different brands. It's a much bigger footprint than I wanted to take. It takes up more space than I wanted to take up in the van.
Yeah.
So I didn't go that direction.
So not yet. When I'm at home, I usually have pretty high quality tires and rims, and I'm pretty good at knowing how tight they are. And I have a floor pump at home, and I will
just do it.
But I almost have a heart attack when I do one. I have to take an hour break after one tire because I'm so worn out, because you have to go so fast
to get a ton of air going.
So fast to get as much air going. But man, it is kind of cool to know that I didn't have to use a air compressor.
Yeah, it's like making fire with 2 rocks.
Yeah, it's But man, I think I've almost passed out a couple times trying to do that. I have an air compressor at home that I'm currently rebuilding. It's kind of it's stupid. I'm spending way more money and time on it than just going to the store and buying one. But it's an old 60s what they call a 2-stage compressor. Okay. And man, I'm almost done with it. And it's pretty cool to have.
Yeah, and those things last forever, right?
Yeah. It had seized pistons, so I pulled out the pistons and rebored them and did all this stuff. And it's so close. And I'm bending the tubing to go from one cylinder to the other, and that's leaking, and I have to fix that. But other than that, it's going. So, and I'm kind of stoked. I had to do some welding, and I moved this system off of the little tiny tank that it was on onto a much bigger one. So it'll be my garage compressor. But my wife is like, "How much money did you spend?" And I'm like
$4.
More than a new air compressor would have cost. So, but it's more the time. So so eventually I have an air compressor, but I've done it with the floor pump quite a few times. There's some floor pumps you can get that are high volume and high pressure, and they have a switch.
Yep.
And then CO2s. I have not tried the little mini pumps yet to see if they'll
put out enough pressure.
Yeah. I don't feel like, since you can regulate how fast it goes in.
I don't think they would.
Yeah. Right now, I think CO2 is everybody's go-to.
Yeah.
Because the CO2s are fairly cheap, but I don't actually use CO2 because I just don't like throwing stuff away like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, once you do it, you're throwing that piece of metal away, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll use a pump all day long because I don't know. I'm just a Luddite or something. I don't know. So.
Well, we've clearly established that.
Yep.
While we're on the topic of air compressing and, filling up your tires, there's a couple things that I use at home that are a little bit different. One's not different. One, I just want to plug something, but one of the things that I bought, I've got a set of like power tools at home, like drills and saws and stuff like that by Ryobi.
Uh-huh.
And they all use a common battery.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Same battery system. So I have like a couple batteries and I got all these different power tools and I just charge that battery. And
I do too,
works
by the
on
way.
everything.
Yeah.
But they also make a tire inflator that uses those batteries.
And can you preset the pressure?
No, but it's got a pressure gauge on it that you can see. So it's just like a pump, but it's electric and it's like handheld. It looks like a drill, like the size of a drill.
Yeah.
And it works fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was like $40 or something. And I already had the
battery and charger.
I already had the battery and charger. Now it's got a Schrader valve end on it. That's it.
Yeah.
I guess I could cut it and swap it out. I never have.
Yeah.
But I do use the little Schrader to Presta adapter thing that you screw on.
Yeah.
But it works fantastic for filling up tires. So if you already have like a Ryobi, and there's a couple other ones, systems out there, you got the batteries, you might be able to buy a cheap, like, this handheld drill tire inflator thing, and it works awesome.
Some of them you can preset the pressure, which I think I'd like to try out.
That would be super cool. This one you can't. Maybe it's probably more expensive.
Yeah.
The other thing I have that I just want to shout out, and this is like a luxury item, I think, but I do have a pancake air compressor in the garage.
Yeah.
Just a little, I think it's Craftsman or DeWalt or something like that. Maybe $150. And I use it for everything, including filling up our tires. But I eventually broke down and bought the Park Tools INF-2, which is their little handheld, inflator. And Jesus, is that thing amazing. It is so amazing.
We break them constantly.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, we're working on so many more bikes.
Yeah. So do you have the Silka one or something? Or have you guys?
No, we've gone to the EVT.
EVT, okay.
Is a company that's like a bunch of guys that are in a machine shop that work on bikes, and they just started building tools out of like stuff that you could get around your machine shop, like angle iron and all kinds of stuff, but they do such a good job, and they use like bearings and tight tolerances, and they do a good job. It's not cheap. However, when you sent me this list, I knew that you liked that because you're a Park guy.
I am.
And I like Park stuff, but this particular inflator has failed quite a bit
for you guys. Okay, so I've had good experience, but you are using it 1,000 times more than me. So
and we drop it. It's heavy.
Yeah.
We drop it.
I don't ever drop mine.
Yeah.
I take care of my tools.
I'd love to say that, but
shit happens.
You got like
I know, I'm just messing
6 mechanics going
I'm just messing with you.
So the EVTs have been, the EVTs are crazy because they look like you just went to Ace and put a bunch of NPT pipes together and just
But it works great.
But it works great. It's durable.
What's the price difference? So the Park one's like $150.
Yeah, it's like $20 more for the EVT.
Oh, Jesus. So there you go.
And you can get the EVT in a bunch of different configurations. They even have a crazy one where you can pipe it directly into your, like if you run iron pipe from your compressor to your workshop, they have a head that's got 2 hoses that come off. One's Presta and one's Schrader.
Oh, cool.
And so that one was way more pricey, and I don't like it. I like the other ones which go on the quick attach.
Yeah, it'll work on both.
Yeah, and then one is sometimes they have a gauge, sometimes they don't. It just depends on which configuration you buy. So they got a bunch of different versions. And their Presta is rebuildable. I think they're using the silica internals, but I only know that or think that because they look like the silica. And silica makes some of the best Presta Presta inflators, that just fit right on a Presta and inflate. So, it's a good tool. It's super simple and way more durable. We drop that thing all the time too, and it doesn't ever break.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So You said it was EVT?
EVT.
Echo Victor Tango.
Yeah.
Okay.
EVT tools. They make a work stand that I want, but it's just so expensive.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep using my Park until it breaks.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably replace it with an EVT.
Yeah, and I'll show you ours here so you can see. Genuinely, the biggest thing with EVT is when you look at it, you're like, I could put
it looks
this
industrial.
Together. Well, I could put this together at Ace, you know?
Yeah.
And I can tell you that they have more thought and more precision and use better stuff than you probably are getting at Home Depot, but it looks the same. So
yeah, so don't be fooled. But I don't give a shit what my stuff looks like as long as it works well.
Yeah, their bearings and action on their work stands are super nice and really smooth and like so much better than most things that I've used. But they look like they just took angle iron and threw a piece of rubber on it, like to hold your bike. You know, like it's kind of crazy. So
next topic, I made a critical error. And I've got my fleet about 80% transitioned over to wax. And typically I start with the Silca wax, hot wax for the first waxing of the chain. I'm talking about wax chains now.
Not bikini.
Haven't done that, but probably should.
Yeah. Got to clean that up.
Got to clean that up.
Yeah,
it's getting
manscaping.
It's getting a little rough. Jesus, man.
Now people are picturing that.
I know. Please don't. Yeah. Please don't. I'm gonna start getting bear emails.
Oh
God. All right. We've gone down a way bad. Let's get off this. Let's get off this. But I thought I pretty much had remembered exactly which bikes were wax and which bikes were not. Mm-hmm. And so I use squirt after the first hot wax. And so I put squirt on a bike that was not waxed.
Okay.
And the combination of whatever lube that I was using, which was Purple Extreme, and that squirt created just a
gunky mess.
Like just a hot mess.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, for Christ's sake. So I cleaned off the chain the best I could. And I was like, oh man, I want to convert this bike. Do I need to throw the chain away? Its chain still had life left in it. And it like we've talked about before, it was matched up to the cassette. So I didn't want to go through all that shit. So, long story short, I ended up putting a new chain on it.
Okay.
But here's my question. Is converting to wax on a chain that wasn't waxed initially just a lost cause, or can you actually do it?
I don't wax. I use squirt, but I don't wax. Everybody that I know though, they didn't go buy new chains.
Okay.
So I think you just have to degrease properly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the companies will have different ways of doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my friends is like, I put it in like a
acetone
or gas,
gasoline,
and just get it, like leave it overnight, and then I come and get it, and then I clean it off a few times. And the biggest thing is the contamination of your wax. That sounds
like Justin. Is it Justin that does the gasoline?
Maybe.
Hi, Justin.
But like the contaminating your wax pot is the biggest fear. So whatever you do to clean your chain, you want to get it as clean as possible so that when you're dipping it, you're not introducing a bunch of crap into your wax pot.
Yeah, because then you got and cleaning out the wax pot is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, not only cleaning it out, but wasting that wax. Like you don't want to have dirty wax going onto your
chain. That defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
right?
The key is to get underneath the rollers and get all the gunk out. I've pulled a parts washer chain out, and then which is where we're kind of washing the surface, and then I'll use like with this stuff called suspension clean, which is it's like brake cleaner, except it's a lot cleaner, and but it evaporates. So it's a high pressure nozzle solution, like solvent that comes out. It'll blast off dirt, but then it'll evaporate, so it doesn't leave residue. And I've done that on what I thought was a clean chain, and like a bunch of stuff comes out of the rollers, and so you just got to make sure you get them clean. If you dip a dirty chain, you're just going to have dirty wax. And so you may go through your wax faster, or it may not be as clean as you hoped.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trial and error. It's just how much you want to learn and follow directions. The temperature of the wax
is a big deal.
Yeah.
I actually went and bought the Silca wax machine because I was using like a garage store,
like
like a garage sale crock pot.
Yeah.
And then my temperatures were all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's definitely made a big difference.
Yeah. I think when you're learning, go with the first one and try it out and figure it all out, because you're going to screw up and make all those mistakes. And then when you're like, yeah, I like this. This is okay. I'm going to put this pain in the butt, you know,
which it is a pain in the butt.
It is worth it to me, and I enjoy it. And then you spend the money, you know?
Yeah. I think I did some like back of the napkin math, and I think it's about half the time over the life of the chain.
Yeah.
If you actually do the wax up front, because you're just saving time.
Yeah.
You know, and in the desert where it's dry and dusty.
Yeah.
Like I haven't experimented with wax where it's wet.
Yeah.
But here where it's dry and dusty, oh my God.
It's great. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I've been on wax type lubes for so long that I've forgotten how gunky stuff can get, you know. And then there was a couple brands of wax that would get gunky, and those turned people off of using wax, so they would stop using it because they're like, it's too gunky. It makes this, you know, you see these videos where there's like cakes of it on there, and you take a scribe and to your pulley, and like chunks of this crap is coming off. In most cases, that is usually mixing wax with a wet that causes that. And then what happens is you get like a clay instead of a wax. And so that it's really important that you don't mix. And then there was a couple brands where the particulate wax was just too thick and it would clump, and the chemistry of what got the
just
wax
wasn't dialed
on. Yeah. So we talk about Squirt all the time, mainly because they've figured out a good chemistry to get the wax into the chain, and then that transfer solution comes off without being clumpy.
Yeah, and just so for our listeners to understand what Dane's talking about, like with the Squirt, it's a white liquid.
Yeah.
And you put that white liquid on your chain, and then over time, what you called the transfer fluid actually evaporates off. Yeah. And what stays is the wax.
Yeah. Or the wax type material. Yeah. It's not always straight up paraffin. And that's the other thing is like sometimes like Silica and other companies that make a dipping wax, it's not a straight up paraffin. Like, you know, I see a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I just go to the hobby shop and I melted a candle or what, you know, like you're going to get some results, but it's not the same thing. And
so when we talked about this on a previous episode, the person that we named earlier wrote me and said, no, you just need to get this and this and melt them together and it's perfect. You don't need to spend all
and it will work, you know? Yeah. But again, if you're going to go to all that time and effort to get what you feel is better. Yeah. Skimping on that doesn't make any sense. If you're worried about money, just use Squirt, you know, just
use Squirt.
Yeah. And don't mix your lubes.
It works great.
Yeah.
All right. Don't mix your lubes.
Yeah.
That's a life lesson.
Yeah. In fact, when you go to a bike shop, try and let them know a good mechanic should be feeling the chain and kind of get an idea of what you have on there. Yeah. But honestly, bike shops get busy. They don't always know. Sometimes they're new. Sometimes they put what they like on, and they don't know that mixing different types of lubes can have adverse effects. So if you are putting a lot of time and effort into your chain, let the bike shop know so that they don't mess up your time and effort.
I'll tell you, man, you know, in all aspects of your life, don't mix the lube is a good. Yep. Like if you've ever mixed a silicone with a water-based lube, it doesn't work out well.
No. Yeah.
All right. I got a bike with pinging spokes. Ding, 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 ding.
I mean, it's not a constant thing. It just
not
happens.
A constant thing. It just happens periodically.
Yeah.
I went through and I like checked to make sure I didn't have any loose spokes. So you kind of go around both sides of the wheel because you got spokes coming out. Yeah. Both sides. And I just kind of, with my fingers, just test to make sure I don't have one loose. Every once in a while over my career of mountain biking, I found loose spokes, and that was the cause of it. Should I be concerned?
So there's probably different versions of what you're maybe talking about. Mm-hmm. The most common is when you pick up your bike from the bike shop and you go ride it, and right away it's like ping, 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 you know. And that is usually...
After you trued it?
Yeah. Usually when the wheel got trued, you can get... As you're turning the nipple, it can sometimes twist the spoke and kind of preload the spoke.
And that's just the spoke returning to its natural state.
Yeah, and the nipple against the rim has too much friction for that spoke to return. And then when you roll over it, it loosens the nipple just for a split second, and returns. It basically lets it spin back to where it's naturally supposed to be. So sometimes...
Yeah, but that should be temporary. Once that resettles,
yes,
it should stop making that noise.
Yeah, that should reset. If you have a constant ping, you may have one or two spokes that aren't the right tension. So again, as you're rolling over them, they are kind of either, basically lifting off of the rim too much and making a noise.
So if it's recurring, get it checked out.
Yeah,
if you hear it once in a while,
could be spoke tension. If it's right after it was serviced, don't panic. Like when I test ride a bike after we do a tune-up and we always check the wheels, I always hear that. And then I have a habit of I lean the bike over, and let it roll, a good 20 yards, and then lean it over the other way and let it yard, and it's flexing the wheels. And then I will go put the bike in the stand and check the true again to make sure that those unraveling spokes that are making those noise
didn't send it back out of true.
Didn't make it out of true. Yeah. Sometimes it's just a tiny fraction of a millimeter that they move and they just make the noise.
Yeah. So. Okay. So pinging spokes. There you go. Okay. Yeah. And again, this is it's so funny. All this stuff is related.
I got one for you. Did you know that some people try and check spoke tension by flicking and pinging the spokes?
Just to get the sound?
Yeah. And they want to match the sound all the way around. And I'm not a wheel builder. I don't know if I think that's the best way to go.
If you have perfect pitch, maybe?
Yeah. I guess I don't have confidence that I would know the difference between two. But yeah, there's wheel builders out there that will use pinging the spokes as their idea of whether they're getting it to the right tension all the way around. Because even tension on your wheels is more important than a straight wheel. So when you're dealing with,
can you explain why?
Well,
I understand, but explain for our listeners.
And the caveat is on aluminum. So on carbon, it's different because carbon doesn't bend and stay bent. But on aluminum, when the aluminum actually bends, it can move over, and then you have to over tension to bring it straight again.
Right.
And sometimes if you do that too much, you can have a weaker wheel because you're putting way too much tension in one area of the wheel and not enough in another. Yeah. Yep. And so, but you're trying to make it straight. And so sometimes you can be weakening the wheel by making it too straight if it's had a lot of trauma. So
I just had to stand up because my butt hurts.
Yeah, you got that metal bench.
I'm sitting on the metal bench, no pad. You'd think that I had my own built-in padding here that would be enough, but apparently not. All right. I've been taking pedals off more frequently because in our configuration, I have to take at least one pedal off.
Did you match your pedals?
Did I match my pedals?
So when I packed up to do our trip last year with 4 bikes in the van, and we had to pack them inside the van, and I had to take the pedals off each time I put them in and took it. You
made sure they all had an 8 or all had a 6 millimeter.
Yeah, I made sure they all had 6 mils so that I wasn't flipping, having 3 different tools. So.
Back to the park tools that I love. Mm-hmm. I ended up picking up, actually from your shop.
Yeah.
You had a 6 millimeter and an 8 millimeter pedal wrench.
Yeah, those are nice.
That was they were super cheap too. Yeah. They were $8 a piece or something.
Nobody ever wants to splurge on them, but you use them so much, especially if you travel.
So I use them all the time now, and that changed. That literally took minutes out of my every single time I load and unload the bikes. It was fantastic. So
you're less likely to knuckle your knuckles when you're trying to take them off.
So no, I did not match the pedals, and I have to remember. And now I'm starting to remember each one.
Yeah,
I will tell you though, those. So I've been riding my big bike, my Gorilla, a lot.
Yeah,
and I've got those Saint pedals that you gifted me. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
holy shit,
they're nice.
I love those Saint flat pedals. That is my favorite. I mean, I think that's what I'll buy for every bike. And once my pedals wear out, it is fantastic. Well, I guess I need to see longevity, how long they last.
I mean, they're Shimano. They're going to last.
So they should last for a long time.
And if they don't, they're rebuildable.
They're rebuildable.
Yeah.
So, man, if you're looking for new flat pedals, now, I don't know, do they have different sizes? Do you know? Because those are pretty big, and my feet are big, so it works well for me.
I don't think so.
Okay.
There's an XT version that's got a little less features.
Okay.
So that may be a little smaller.
So the Saint ones, wow. I mean, they're big platforms.
Yeah.
So if you ride a big platform pedal, you should check it out. It is, wow. Really, and they're not that heavy.
No.
So I'm really digging those. But here's my question. I'm taking the pedals off a lot, putting them back on a lot. I'm not torquing them.
Yeah.
I just kind of have this feel that feels good to me.
Yep.
And I've lost some of the pedal washers.
Okay.
So is it okay that I'm not torquing them? And then should I be using pedal washers?
So in most cases, the torque is just to make sure that you put them on tight enough and they don't come off while you're riding.
Yeah.
If you put them on too tight, or maybe to keep you from putting them on too tight. So too many people put them on a little too tight.
Yeah.
They're designed that as the bearings are being, the friction in the bearings is they're designed to kind of tighten. That's why one is reverse thread.
Yep.
So that when you're pedaling,
they don't loosen.
They're supposed to self-tighten. They don't always do that. And sometimes they can fall off. So you just want to put them on a certain degree, past when they stop, just so that they're not coming off. You don't want to make them so they seize.
So I'm about 1/8 of a turn from when it stops.
Yeah.
And that feels about right to me.
Yeah. I can't remember which degree or how much but we do it by feel, but we always you have a little grease on it. You don't have to grease it every time, but you just want to make sure
that it's greased up.
Yeah,
I do that.
They're not corroding.
Yep.
And then did you ask about pedal washers?
Yeah. I've lost a couple just, in the transfer process.
So some companies want you to use pedal washers. Some companies don't care. And some companies
don't want you to use them.
I don't know so some circumstances you may not use them. So the rule of thumb is if the manufacturer has supplied them with them, you probably should use them. And that's just because if something were to happen, you may void the warranty if you're not using them. I've had companies ask were there pedal washers
So if I go through the 8 different pedals I have in the fleet, can you tell me specifically which
It's not the pedal, it's the crank.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. I should preface that. The pedal washers would come with the crank. So it's the crank brand.
Okay, so which brands of cranks?
Shimano? Not Shimano. SRAM supplies them. I want to say E13. I'm not sure about Praxis.
And Shimano does not?
No. And so this is going to be more generalized, so it's not specific to every brand. But in most cases, what the manufacturer wants is for that pedal to sit flush without any raised or sharp edges, and so that you have a good surface for that pedal.
Good connection.
Yeah.
And the washer provides a way to make up any deviations in the system.
If your pedal happens to have wrench flats that are exposed to the crank, they can cause a stress riser and you can get a stripped out crank. And if you guys don't know what that means by me saying, I'll give you a visual. That means when you're putting the pedal on, you're using like a 15 mil wrench, and as the pedal's going in, 2 sides of the pedal are flat. And when that flat side goes up against the crank, you can have more leverage in that area and an uneven surface and not enough support. So you should always use a pedal washer with that type of pedal. Most high-end pedals don't have that. Shimano pedals, we're shouting out a lot to Shimano, but their pedals have good flanges, so they're usually pretty safe in most cases. And then other brands, HT and who else? One Up and Wolf Tooth, and you just got to look at the flange. And then if the company that makes the crank supplies it with a washer,
you got to use one.
One of the reasons that is they may have made the material, the crank arm, out of a material that is a little easily marred. And so they want the washer to prevent that.
To protect the actual crank.
Yeah, and so it'll also keep it from having issues.
Yeah, so it was a good thing I went to Wheels Manufacturing and bought a lot of pedal spacer or pedal washers.
If you do that, because some pedal washers have a bigger diameter than others.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Use your good logic when you put that pedal washer up against that little recess that's usually on the crank.
Is it actually doing what it's supposed to do?
If it's way bigger than that recess and it's going to bend and stuff, that's not good, And so you got to use a little bit of common sense when you're doing it.
Oh, for Christ's sakes.
The hardest ones are when you're trying to use those pedal washers and you've got the little plastic boots on carbon cranks. A lot of carbon cranks want pedal washers, by the way. So if you have carbon cranks, there's a good chance you should be using pedal washers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the complicated answer to that.
Yeah, I didn't think pedal washers was going to be a complicated question.
I can tell you that I forget pedal washers all the time. I don't ever put pedals on my bikes that have those wrench flats. Now, there's a difference when I say wrench flats versus a pedal with a good collar on it, but it has wrench flats. Okay. So I'm hoping people can kind of visualize what I'm talking about.
Oh, you've lost half the audience at this point.
So the threads, as they go into the pedal, basically, if the surface that butts up against the crank arm is a nice disc shape, and doesn't have the wrench flats in that part, but you've got 15 millimeter wrench flats on it, you're still okay, because that disc.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, I'm not sure anyone else does, but I'm following you. Maybe there's like three or four people more.
Hard one to visualize. Most cases, if you go to Walmart and look at the flat pedals there and look at the pedals, the wrench flats go all the way up to the crank arm. Yeah. And that means they're gonna have more leverage to mar up or mess up that crank.
Yep. So, and the washer would protect that.
Yeah, it's usually cheap pedals that are like that.
Cheap pedals need washers. All right. Thank you. That was fantastic. Next topic here. Derailleur pulley wheels.
I want to skip that.
Okay, let's skip it.
Because we're short on time, and I had a lot of fun with your next one, which is
actually two. So I'll skip a couple.
Yeah. So the tools.
Okay, let's get to the tools.
Okay. So you asked what?
So I asked, and if you want, maybe this will be our last topic.
Yeah, I'm going to change what you asked, but what did you ask?
What I asked was, what are the three tools
that are worth? What are the three expensive tools?
What are the three shop tools or three bike tools that you think are absolutely worth their high cost?
Yeah, okay.
Or higher cost.
I'm going to change that. So the guys and I were talking, and it was fun.
Who are the guys in this case?
So Daniel, Ben,
these are the guys
Tony
in the shop.
Yep. And I kind of presented to them. Here's how I presented it. What tool that you can't buy at like a Home Depot, okay, or a hardware store,
right?
So not Allen wrenches, not box ends, things like that.
Yep.
Not screwdrivers, things like that. What tool that you can't buy at a big box that's a real bike tool that you wouldn't have in your seat pouch or in your Camelback? So not tire lever, not chain breaker, things like that. Would you carry, or do you think is the most important? What are the three most important?
So these are four very experienced, like mechanics and bike shop professionals.
Yeah. And I got pretty much a ton of different answers.
Wow. From all of them.
Yeah. Like there was no three definite.
Wow.
Yeah. Because once you take Allen wrenches out, right, that's a big necessity.
Yep.
So I can tell you that I was surprised.
So do you have all 12 answers?
Well, it's funny because if you look at one of the guys at the shop, he is doing a lot of intakes on bikes, helping people evaluate what the bike needs and stuff. And so
he's the triage dude.
That's Ben. And so his two were more orientated towards that. So he said pulley height tool, which is...
I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's because you ride Shimano.
Okay.
On SRAM, you have to set the pulley height correctly or it won't shift correctly, which a lot of people that complain about shifting with SRAM systems, especially 12-speed, or...
is that the same as a B-limit screw?
It's kind of like a B height, but Shimano calls it something different, B tension.
Okay.
Pulley height is what SRAM calls it. And if your pulley height is wrong, your pulleys won't be in the right place to move the chain around the cassette properly. So, but they effectively are kind of doing the same thing. So, SRAM has developed this little plastic thing that you stick on there that makes it really easy to
tell
gauge.
If you're off.
Yeah, and it's you will not find that anywhere but a bike shop, And so it's a weird tool that you would never find anywhere else.
Okay, so if you're running SRAM,
and sure enough, I have one in my travel toolbox,
Okay.
So, and then he also said chain checker, which again, if you're evaluating whether a bike needs service, checking the length of the chain
makes a big deal.
Something you do. So I thought that was cool. And then Daniel had one that I liked that I didn't have, and his is very practical. I definitely would carry this in my camper or something, or in a race truck or something like that.
Yeah.
A cassette tool and whip.
Okay.
Those are really specific. To get your cassette off.
Yeah.
If you had to change it or if you're switching wheels or something.
So you have a chain whip that holds the cassette stable, and then you have a tool that actually fits in, and can you actually loosen or tighten the cassette?
Yeah, to attach it. Yep, exactly. And then he brought up torque wrench. Again, he's one of our main mechanics, so he's constantly working on bikes all the time, so he's always making sure things are torqued properly.
Did he specify what range of torque torque?
No, he did say a torque wrench or clickers. And so clickers are preset
torques.
Yeah. And so we have like a 4, a 5, and a 6 that we have on the benches just because they're easy.
Park makes one that does 4, 5, and 6.
Well, so then we also have adjustable.
Yep.
So, but if you're doing it real quick, having those 3 presets are nice.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And each one of those presets, their Park also have bits.
Yep.
So different size bits. So 3 bits that you can put in.
Right on.
So that's cool. And so then Daniel also brought up a bleed kit, which is true. I bring a bleed kit with me usually just for my bike. So if I run Shimano, I'll have a Shimano bleed kit. If I run SRAM, I'll have a SRAM bleed kit. So that if I need to change pads or if I'm, changing altitude changes what air is in the system and it can affect it and you may notice it more at altitude. And so I can use my bleed kit and kind of fine tune my brakes back.
And your bleed kit needs to match the actual brakes on that bike.
Yeah.
Which sucks for me when you've got 4 different types of brakes.
Yeah.
So I have to have 4 unique different bleed kits.
Yeah. I have the same issue, but I'm keep pushing all my brakes to one brand. But then I'll get a new bike and it'll have new stuff and I want to try the new stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then the big thing that none of them said that as a team mechanic, which I was, I always had, and I would never go, without, is what's called a DAG tool, a derailleur alignment gauge.
Yeah, you told me to buy that.
Yeah. Now,
I've used it one time since you told me to buy it.
So here's the crazy thing. Now with these direct mount derailleurs,
don't need it as much.
You can't use it
because you're not aligning the derailleur hanger.
You can't actually use it, so it doesn't work with those. So
but
most
direct mount derailleurs don't have derailleur hangers, so there's nothing to align.
Now, but if you're running Shimano or some of the older systems like a SRAM, 12 speed,
GX,
that's not or EXO or whatever, you need it. And that as a team mechanic was the number one thing that you would check first whenever there was shifting problems. So
check the derailleur hanger.
The hangers always, that was one of my main tools. So those tools, it was really interesting to have the different personalities had different types of tools that they would rely on. So
you gave me some interesting answers to a question I didn't ask.
I know. Well, your question was so then we did talk about
expensive.
What is the most expensive and useless tool in our shop?
Oh, so now you're answering the opposite of the question that I asked.
Exactly. And so one of the things, because we do a lot of carbon fiber bikes, so this will change depending on the bike shop and who they are.
Yeah.
If you're a vintage bike shop, this is absolutely not the case. But here, facing and chasing tools are not, and they're very expensive. And so those are tools that we don't need. I know a couple shops in town. I know the owners went out and they got excited when they built their bike shops and they went and bought all those tools and they just sit there doing nothing.
They use them once a year.
Yeah. And not even,
Right.
And then you have other shops in town that are working on, for the most part, a lot of garbage bikes, and they really need those tools because the bikes came in without, having it done. A really common bike, and I hate to call them out on it, but like Salsa or Surly often would come in with paint either in the threads or on the face of something on their aluminum bikes, and we would have to chase and face those. And they're great quality, but they just needed a little bit of prep that wasn't done
otherwise.
Yeah.
What about all that bearing pulling stuff and pressing stuff? Those are expensive.
Yeah, we use those a lot here.
You do use them.
Yeah, and putting in bearings properly is worth the money.
It's worth the money.
Yeah. Crank pullers is a tool that we were looking at the bench and we're like, what tool don't we hardly ever use in this shop? Again, depends on the shop, but in a high-end shop does a lot of carbon fiber bikes and modern stuff. We don't hardly ever use crank pullers because
they don't come that way.
They're self-pulling, like they pull themselves. And so square tapered, if anyone knows what that is, that's the old style bottom brackets.
Compression fit.
Square tapered crank puller is it's like that thing gets touched maybe once a year. So
when someone brings in a bike from 2004.
Yeah, and we still have those. I mean, we got a bunch hanging on the wall in here. So. But it was kind of interesting to hear the tools we never use. Oh, a tool that I said that I would have with me is a housing cutter. So the Park housing cutter.
Yep.
And you can use it for cables too. I don't say cable cutter because they do make cable only cutters and they won't cut housing. And so a park housing cutter, that's a really important tool to have. If you're putting housing on a bike, trying to cut housing without that
is a pain in the ass.
Yeah. You need like it doesn't work unless you have like a cutoff saw, would maybe work. So,
Right.
But yeah, you need that tool. So.
All right, man. Well, a couple that I missed, I don't think that we need to, we'll save the bar end one for another day.
Yeah, I'm ordering those. So we'll talk about when they come in.
We'll talk about when they come in.
Yeah.
Maybe one more question that we didn't get to.
Okay.
Internal cable routing on an e-bike.
Yeah.
If you need to replace it or for like you're adding a dropper or something, is that a DIY job or is that you should probably take it to the damn bike shop because they're going to have to pull the motor out and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Motor and the battery. And in a lot of cases, there's a wiring rack built into
like a harness that slides through.
Harness is kind of a weird word. You ever go into a building and they got that rack above you that's got all the wires in it, the tray kind of deal? Yep. It's kind of like that. And the problem is a lot of times you can't get cables back and forth through them easily. I was just doing was it my amp? Yeah, I was just doing my pivot amp and it's got one. And I didn't read the instructions because
you're Dane.
Because I'm an idiot. And so I pulled the brakes off of that bike and usually we will run a runner, which means when we're pulling internal cables out on any bike, we'll attach another cable or housing to it.
So that you have the housing, empty housing.
And then we'll run that through so that it's a placeholder and it makes it easier to get in and out. And so I was doing that and it got tight and got hung up in there. I was selling the brakes off the bike, so I had to pull them out anyway. So I just pulled them out and I was like, well, I'll deal with this later.
And then later came, and now I had to put that through without a runner. And you had to take the motor and the battery out.
Motor and battery had to come out. And then that cage or harness or whatever you want to call, I didn't realize that it's being held up there tight, and that's why it wouldn't run very well.
Right.
And had I read the instructions, I would have known there's a couple bolts that I can loosen, and that process would have been probably to where I didn't have to pull that out. But a lot of bikes, you got to pull that stuff out to really get stuff around. They're getting better, but for the most part, e-bikes, it's a tough thing. So in the shop, whenever we have to pull a motor for an e-bike, and especially if they don't have good routing and we know that it's going to be a nightmare, we will almost beg, plead, and just try and talk the customer into doing cables and housing on their rear derailleur, because that's the time to do it. If I got your battery out, let me change that. Like, don't skimp out, let me put the new cables and housing in there, because once that motor goes back in, if you need to run a new housing because your shifting is not that great, now you may have to pull the motor again, which can get expensive.
Sucks balls.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a DIY is not that great. So a lot of people will tackle it because they're at that level.
Yeah.
But man, you can get into
it's hard enough to do internal cable stuff with acoustic pedal bikes.
Yeah.
Even that's complicated.
Yeah.
I've got like the Park, leader tool. Yeah. It's got a whole bunch of connectors and stuff. And that thing's fantastic, by the way.
Fishing tool or whatever.
Yeah. I've got all that stuff and that stuff works great. But you can't do that. You can't use that stuff with the e-bike.
It's really, there's some of them. And then some of them are really hard to know what the heck you're supposed to do. We've had some where the customers those two bolts, I guess, that loosen up that cage on the pivot are similar to the Amflows, but people have taken them apart without knowing that, and then they don't have the battery out when they do it, and then basically that harness drops inside the frame.
Oh no!
Because they were trying to figure out how to put a water bottle on, and they didn't read the bolt where it says "do not disassemble" or anything.
Right.
And so now they've got a big job just because they were trying to put a water bottle cage on.
Oh, Jesus!
And it's a pain because once that thing slides down, now you got to pull the motor and the battery. Now you got to get your hand to get up in there to realign everything, which is not a fun thing, and then get all the cables into their slots properly and then reattach.
Dude, the e-bikes are so fun, but damn, are they such a pain in the ass.
Oh, so some companies are smart enough to make internal tubes that you just shove
through
that thing through.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, on a non-e-bike, I don't like them because they add a lot of weight. I mean, I like them as a mechanic because I love to do that because it's so nice and clean. But they add a lot of weight, and they can affect the stiffness, and they can affect the ride. But they're awesome as a mechanic. You just go, and it pops out the other end, and it's no big deal.
Ta-da!
It's super easy. On an e-bike, I think that should be like standard. It should just be how it is, because at that point, the weight's not an issue. And man, changing, if you're not running a wireless drivetrain and you're running cables on it, which a lot of people just want those, you've got to change that stuff. And man, if you have to pull the motor to do that, it's a big job. And there's a lot. I mean,
how many hours did you guys quote for a motor?
We don't. Hours are tough because it depends on the mechanic. And, and if they've
so you don't have
before.
Like a standard for the motors.
Like when I did my amped, it took me a lot longer because I was learning as I was going. The next one I'll do in half the time.
Yeah.
But if I do a Rocky Mountain like yours, I know where all those nuts and bolts are. I know the little tricks.
Yep.
And so, I have to do, like, we're a Trek dealer and they do TQ. I haven't done one yet. So I'll have to learn on the first one that I do and figure out how long it's going to take. So,
right on.
So it just depends on the system. So,
all right, bro. Well, I would like to thank you for addressing every element except for a couple of my eclectic lists that I've been capturing over the last couple months.
Now you got to compile another list.
Now I got to compile another list, which I'm sure I will. I've got a bunch of bike jobs to do. My maintenance log is getting a little bit unbearable, so I need to start tackling it.
Got to go through that Gorilla for Angel Fire.
So. Gorilla's in pretty good shape right now, but I'll double check it. I've been riding it a lot. Check all my bolts.
Yeah.
All right, man. You got any final listeners? You got any final thoughts for our listeners?
That's it, man. I mean, I hope when you work on your bike, you have a blast, but if you get into trouble, I hope you have a good shop. Yeah. So.
We appreciate you guys. Give us a review, share, like and subscribe.
It's fun to say.
Yes, it is.
Can you dig it?